Hey everybody, this is Lisa Simser, and this is your presentation on the standards of professional conduct. We do have a law in Minnesota that includes a code of ethics for Minnesota teachers, and I will share with you that it is not my favorite thing to talk about. Not because I don't agree with it. I agree with it completely, but it kind of makes me sick to my stomach just to think about the fact that we have to remind people that that these are problem behaviors, or these are concerning things that teachers should not participate in. So I'm going to go as quickly as I feel that I can through this content. I do want you to know that there is a brochure from the Minnesota Department of Education posted on our Moodle class site, as well as information about mandated reporting and a specific training that you should work through. Just some websites and information for you about that part of our code of ethics as well. So please make sure that you're checking out, along with this presentation, the resources I have for you in Moodle. All right, first of all, standards of professional conduct. You need to obviously be non-discriminatory. So regardless of your opinions or personal feelings on issues of race, gender, color, creed, national origin, sexual orientation, religion, all of these things, you will treat students as learners and be non-discriminatory in your practices in your classroom. You as a teacher are responsible for student safety. That means that you will provide healthy and safe conditions in your classroom and in your school, and also that you will report any abuse or neglect that you suspect. Your window of opportunity on that is 24 hours to contact social services or police. I would strongly recommend that you are in contact with your assistant principals or principals before you go through this process. We have support for you. You have, social workers and people in your school ready to help. But if you have any indication that this is a concern, that you have a student who is experiencing abuse or neglect, it is a mandated requirement that you report it. So please be aware of your school policy and think about it before it becomes an issue, before there's a face of a student in front of you. It is a challenging thing to report a family, a parent, a situation where you think that a student is unsafe, but it is absolutely your responsibility as a teacher. So prepare for it. Be ready. Along with student safety, other pieces of that, you need to make sure that you're providing appropriate boundaries. We have students who are not aware of what appropriate child-adult relationships are supposed to be. Our high school students, this gets even more tricky sometimes. They seem mature, they seem like adults, they are not. They are students in our care. So just be aware that you need to maintain a professional relationship. The law even says that you are not a friend. That doesn't mean that we can't be friendly. We certainly want to be supportive, but our relationship with students is not personal. We are in relationship with our students because of learning, because of our professional requirements. So be aware of that. The open door policy idea, strongly encourage you not to be alone with single students. You should never be driving students places. You should always be in a situation that is public and open. So never be in a closed door arrangement with students. Now, in special education, we have opportunities to be in, locked door situations. Be certain of following your policies regarding that. It's tricky stuff, and you want to be protected and keep your student protected as well. District harassment policies, you will need to follow those. Usually there's yearly training and expectations about that, just as there are in most jobs. You are required to maintain confidentiality. It is required by law, and it is you are privy to information only because of your relationship of teaching this student. So be sure that you are keeping all information confidential and only communicating with those who need to know the information. Student and personal data, this is pretty true of just about any job, but make sure that you're only contacting parents or guardians. You can't just share information with grandma because the kids live with grandma. You need to be certain that they have the legal elements taken care of there. Also, when you have divorce papers that suggest that both parents are responsible for the child, you have to then make sure that you're communicating with both parents. So some tricky stuff with that. Make sure that you're up to date on student and personal data information. So disciplinary action is hopefully obvious that you would not be using corporal punishment. It's illegal in Minnesota. Interesting that it is not illegal everywhere, but it is illegal in Minnesota, so be aware of that. IEPs have procedures for going hands-on with students. Make sure you're aware of that. When in doubt, do not touch a student. Even, on a shoulder, maybe a fist bump, but a high five, that's fine. But other than that, really, we shouldn't be touching students. In the event, let me go back. In the event of a student becoming violent and it requiring you to be physical as well, there will be an investigation. The findings get reported. If there is abuse of any kind on your part, that goes to the BOT, which is the Board of Teaching, and it stays in your permanent record there. So it's concerning. You do have a whole process with your union, with the Department of Ed and union representation, but just don't go hands-on with a kid unless you're in a situation where you are absolutely certain that you're following procedure. Professional relationships. Be cautious of the fact that you are in a position of power. So do not use your relationship for private advantage. So you're not using your position as a teacher to advance your tutoring business in the summer, or to have them purchase books from you, as the examples are there. Suggesting that they use an app that you've created, more power to you, but we need to keep those relationships separate. And if you're in doubt, make sure that you ask your principal for clarification on that. All right, so what about our paraprofessionals? What about volunteers and parents? Just know that your district has policies about that, and you should not be requiring paraprofessionals to behave as teachers, and you should not be asking volunteers or parents to behave as teachers. These are concerning issues. You are the adult in charge. You have been licensed and gone through quite a bit of training to earn that license, so we don't want to just give that authority away to anyone. You have a responsibility to be accurate and correct in your sharing of curriculum, as well as your following of district policies. Make sure that you are not distorting those topics. As you know, you are going to be highly qualified as special education teachers, and you should not be disparaging or falsifying those records. You should not be disparaging your colleagues. Be mindful of gossip and comments that you are making. Be kind. False and malicious statements. Sadly, we have to have this in our record. Teachers should not be making malicious statements about students, their colleagues. Be cautious of how you're speaking in the teacher's lounge, or when you're, at happy hour with your colleagues after work. Just be thoughtful of that you are still in a position as a professional, and should not be, laughing, teasing, joking, making disparaging comments about students or colleagues. The licensure process. You should only accept a contract if you are properly licensed. If you're concerned that you have not yet been licensed or that would need a variance, you should be upfront about that. And if you have any questions about it, make sure you check. Your license, once you have it, will be available to anyone who looks up your name on the Minnesota Department of Ed website. It's kind of fun actually to look up your old teachers and see if they're still working or what their license was. Licenses expire on June 30th. That's true for everyone on your expiration year. So once you have a continuing license, you will need to update it by June 30th of the year that it expires, and you are responsible for that. Most districts want to maintain your license as well. They want to keep licensed teachers in their districts, so you'll usually get support from a continuing ed committee or a district level secretary, somebody who will be working with you to keep your license up to date. In the event that you leave education for a while, for any reason, make sure that you are watching that. I went on maternity leave and I needed to make sure that my license was renewed. So there's a process for that. Just be mindful. You are responsible for maintaining your teaching license. Some things that might cause you to be immediately terminated from a contracted position are simply just being grossly inefficient. If you've been given corrective notice and haven't followed through on that, it happens. I have a colleague at my school this year who was asked to leave in the middle of the year. So it does happen. If you are failing to teach, if you're throwing in videos, if you're repeatedly calling in sick and your students are not being educated, that's considered neglect. Now, I don't say that to scare you. Teachers get sick, so it's not that you shouldn't use your sick days when you're sick, but be alert to the fact that if you're failing to teach, whether you're there and not teaching well or not showing up for work, that's a problem. And then any conduct unbecoming of a teacher, inappropriate jokes, inappropriate clothing, inappropriate gestures, things that are questionable for you as a role model in a teaching position can be cause for immediate termination. Those kinds of things of unbecoming conduct also include discriminatory conduct, DWIs or DUIs, embezzlement, sexual misconduct, internet pornography at home even, be aware. Some people think that's just when you're at school, but you should be avoiding this at home as well. And then illegal gambling, be alert to that as well. Insubordination, this is true of any job, right? If you are rude to your boss or refuse to follow the expectations of the position, you could be terminated as well. This one's interesting, immorality. It is a fuzzy category, but if you are, behaving in a way that is not holding to community standards in your area, then that could be a problem. Also, if you have continuing physical or mental disabilities that are impacting your ability to do the job, you can be given a 12-month leave of absence, and then if you're able to, you can be reinstated, but if you are not able to maintain the duties of the job, either because of physical issues or mental issues, you can be terminated for that. Felony convictions for child or sexual abuse, obviously that would make sense. We can't have you teaching if you're, in a position where you would reoffend. And then any other type of felony, you may be able to keep your job. You'll be entitled to a hearing, but it is possible other felonies would also cause you to be terminated. Failure to teach. Be aware that you can lose your teaching license if you don't adhere to your teaching contract, and so making sure that you, when you need to leave a position, if you're going from one district to another, that you provide a resignation. There are specific dates. Your contract has information about that. If you don't meet those deadlines, you can be held to your contract and made to remain in a position you don't want, or you may lose your teaching license over not continuing in that position when you've signed a contract to do so. So be alert. Teaching contracts are a big, huge deal. Until you are tenured, you are considered probationary, and as a probationary teacher, you are non-renewed for any reason. They can give you a reason, they cannot give you a reason. It just can't be discriminatory, but they can just say, sorry, we don't like you. We don't think you're doing the job that we want, or you're not performing in the way we would hope. As a probationary teacher, you can be excused from your position. And you must be notified by July 1st when you're probationary, if you will not be continuing. Most districts are much better about that. Most local unions, teachers unions, will have an agreement that you'll be notified usually in the early spring. So late March, early April, usually probationary teachers are notified so they can start looking for other positions. Mandatory reporting, just want to reiterate that it is so crucial. We are responsible for protecting our students and keeping them safe. And there is an entire process for reporting sexual and physical abuse or neglect. So make sure that you're checking out those resources in Moodle. Again, there is a Code of Ethics brochure that just hits the highlights, has the law listed. So make sure you grab that, print it out. It's a 2-page, normally it's back-to-back brochure that's folded, but in Moodle I have it, each side is a different PDF file for you. So take a look there. These are all elements that should then be written into your Mind Tools. Make sure that you are reflecting on the Code of Ethics, the mandated reporting, the teacher licensing, the union elements. If you have questions, please let me know. Thanks for listening. We'll get on to much happier topics within education. Have a great day.